Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at onpurposely.com.
It's a very countercultural message because every marketer, every design brand, they want you to continue buying from them. And as we know, look at where we are today. More is more. More is just that. When we think about it from a holistic process, more isn't better. I really like this quote that says, "What takes up our space takes up our time."
Her name is Kristin Green, and she's not your average organizer. Her goal is a lot more than just categories and labels and bins. She helps ambitious yet overwhelmed women declutter their closets and elevate their homes with a minimalist approach. And today we're going to talk about why we feel emotionally free when we get rid of physical clutter, and how Kristin's faith plays a key role in her business. So welcome, Kristin.
Thanks for having me, Sarah. I'm so excited to be here.
One of the things I love to begin with most of my guests is with childhood. And the reason is because the Passion Meets Purpose podcast is all about the unique gifts and talents that God has instilled in each of us, a unique creation, and how there's usually a few things that just light us up. Like we couldn't not do them even if we tried. And often that can stem from early childhood memories. So were you neat and tidy and organized as a little girl?
Yes, for sure. I wouldn't say I'm type A personality. I feel like I'm a mix of both type A and B. But as a little girl, for as long as I can remember, I can just envision myself spending so much time in my bedroom, reimagining, decluttering, just reorganizing. And my mom never had to tell me, go and organize your bedroom. I just did it because it was so much fun. I was the weird kid that enjoyed, how can I make this work? How can I think of this differently? And it sparked so much joy to have an orderly, tidy room.
You know how rare that is, right?
Yes. That's why I say I was the weird kid, because it was the anomaly.
And you have 3 kids of your own.
I do.
Do you have any opposites? Do you have any hoarders in the family?
It is a joke in my family. Some of my family says, you're raising some maximalists, because I have 3 kids, age 8 and under. And one child, my youngest in particular, I'll find he's like the bag lady around the house. In his bedroom, he has some piles of stuff. So I have to kind of keep him in check, but...
But I like that you understand, like, to each their own, and you let him have his bags if needed.
For the most part,
okay.
Yes.
So take me from, you kept things neat and orderly. You were always thinking of how you could be more efficient with your space. Now that you reflect, where did that come from?
Yeah, I think a lot of it, now reflecting back and looking at other organizers' work that I really admire, our physical environments are a manifestation of what's going on inside. And as a little girl, so my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 36. So I was age 8. I'm the oldest. My brother was 5. And looking back, I never connected those two, that this might be something I can control. This might be something that I can, I didn't know at the time, but to help me have a little bit of, okay, this is something that I'm, in control of. And while it did bring me joy, I definitely see that in my life now, that, yes, this is something I feel like God has given me as a talent, and to help bring order to spaces that are chaotic, and learning to live with less. And while there's definitely good just principles and a lot of peace that it can give, I think thinking about myself as a little girl, that might have stemmed from there.
That makes sense. And also, as a believer, I know you're a strong believer that your faith is paramount to everything you do. You mentioned bringing order out of chaos, which that's just throughout the Bible, what God does.
Yes, absolutely. I think of creation, and I think of how, at the beginning of time, the perfect triune God was they had this complete intimacy and fullness and satisfaction with each other. And when they were mapping out creation, that's exactly what God did. Like he brought order to chaos and reined things in. And if we are made in the image of God, which we are, I also believe that the words that we speak and our mindset is so powerful. And a lot of my job, while it is helping busy moms live with less and helping them get dressed, a lot of the foundational work I really enjoy doing because it's a mindset shift. Our words are so powerful because God spoke creation into being. And so, all over the Bible is like the power of the tongue, that it holds life or death. Those who love it will eat its fruit. And so just being mindful that the words that we speak over ourselves, our children, it can be true. And so just bringing some intentionality to that in the process of when I help others declutter.
How interesting that you bring up words in the same sentence as decluttering our things. I never have seen the link between the two.
I think I think a lot of what I do is mindset and habits and bringing attention to that. So if somebody says, I can't do this is too overwhelming, and they feel stuck, I say, okay, let's focus on our language of what we can do. Rome wasn't built in a day. We can start somewhere. We can choose one category. It doesn't matter where you start, but let's start.
We can start in a sock drawer.
Absolutely. Yes. I say just whether it's t-shirts, whether it's one thing, we do have the ability to start, and it's our choice. If we're telling ourselves before we're even starting the process in our closets, I can't do this, well, you're going to not be motivated because you've already decided in your mind and used the language that that's not something that's within your ability. So I like to really pay attention to the language that we use.
So walk me through it. And by the way, you and I have my own closet consult on the books. I am thrilled. I am looking forward to it. Although I started doing that thing that people do, like before someone comes to clean their house or whatever, I started like trying to do it on my own because I was going to be embarrassed.
No, that is so common. And I love to tell my clients, this is a safe space. Look, I'm a mom of 3. I get it. Like, I'm not looking for this perfection, and we don't live in our Pinterest boards. I remind my clients that there is zero judgment, and the reason why you've hired me is to help to just be that sound of reason. It's kind of like I'm your best friend, but with the, expertise and ability to see, okay, what do you truly use where in love? What things bring you joy, and what things would you shop for again? I really help and have the framework and experience in helping ask the right questions to gain clarity in your closet. That's loving.
That's loving. I love it. Well, and sometimes the most loving thing that you can do is help edit and help have less. So let's start getting into it, because I know that there are a lot of people just like me that are listening. And I guess I'll start from personal experience. I have never felt like I'm good at like going to the mall and finding an outfit. I'll find a piece here or a piece there, but I don't have the gift of being able to like figure it all out. And that's why I'm so drawn to your work, because, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, a capsule wardrobe, which is my dream, because I know that one of the things you do is you help women not be overwhelmed in the morning when you want to give freedom to getting dressed.
Yes, exactly. Yes, I always encourage my clients to start with a closet edit. The one component that is key into not repeating this endless shopping, buying, and minimizing cycle is to get to baseline. And how we do that is literally removing every item from your closet, holding it up one by one, and really evaluating, does this fit my lifestyle right now? Is this item in good condition? Would I choose to shop for this again? And helping to understand and apply the 80-20 principle to your closet. If you're not familiar with that principle, we use 20% or less of the clothing that we have 80% or more of the time. And so you can probably think, I'll repeat that again, we use 20% or less of our closets 80% or more of the time. So thinking about that statistic, you can probably know off the top of your head the favorite jeans and t-shirt and white pair of sneakers that you gravitate and that you use week after week. And you know those items that are hanging in your closet that you never touch. And so I help you gain clarity about what is that 20%, outlining what your style is for the life that you live today. That has to be realistic. And then helping execute that and bringing those, I call capsule opportunities. So once the edit is completed, I provide a list of links that are, I call them capsule opportunities in your closet. And that is going to help provide the foundation for versatility and those endless options to make your mornings seamless.
And I'm going to pause you right there just because if you are listening right now and you're like, yes, sold, I'm ready. The good news is Kristin does do like virtual closet consults. So if you're not local to the Pacific Northwest, she can still help you. In a culture, Kristin, that tells us to buy more, every advertising message has one goal. It's to say you're not happy until you have this product. And I don't even know how many belongings the average household has. Do you?
I know it's within I think it's upwards of 50,000.
I was going to guess 30,000, but you just...
Yeah. And I think that's based off of the Minimalist did an article several years ago.
Yeah.
And that is probably an outdated statistic.
And so we already know that all that does is lead to overwhelm. And so tell me why, in a culture focused on accumulating more, there's actually joy found in owning and consuming less.
Yes, absolutely. It's a very countercultural message because every marketer, every design brand, they want you to continue buying from them. And as we know, look at where we are today. More is more. More is just that. When we think about it from a holistic process, more isn't better. I really like this quote that says, what takes up our space takes up our time. When we own more, that requires our time of caring for the item, our mental capacity, thinking about what we're going to do with that item. Does it need to be dry cleaned? Do I need to wash the car? Physically, this is probably my most triggering, is I'm such a visual person. When my closet, when my house is just out of order, it is all that clutter, all that stuff is taking up physical space. And so when we think of all those categories, and if we think about that, the fact that our time is our most valuable resource, do we truly want more? Or are we just continuing to buy into that lie that next designer purse, or if I just had this wardrobe that looks like that blogger, or the next job promotion, once I reach that, I will finally be satisfied? I always tell my clients it's actually addition through subtraction. So instead of thinking, I have to just give up all of this stuff so I can have some space and clarity in my closet, let's think about all the things that we're adding to our life. We're buying back our time. More time is time with my kids, time with my husband, so that I'm not just staring and looking at my closet and seeing how can I get dressed, changing your outfit 5 times because you have, quote, nothing to wear. Thinking about the peace that it will give you because you're not constantly reminded of all these tchotchkes that are cluttering up my counter that I don't even have the space for in my home to keep. And when I think about Jesus's kingdom, it's inverse, right? I just am studying the book of John this year in BSF, and we're on the heels of Holy Week and his crucifixion, and thinking about if Jesus was the utmost example of joy and less, he is a king with a capital K. He left his throne. He poured himself out. And why did he do that? He was completely and perfectly obedient to the Father. He knew his task. He was on mission to complete the Father's will. And he had perfect intimacy with him. And I also think of Hebrews. Why did Jesus do that? Why did he leave his throne? He left it for the joy, which is us, set before him. So Jesus is our ultimate example of what it means to experience that abiding joy. It's not found in more. He didn't have to leave heaven. He willingly did so, and He chose to become a servant. He chose to become the man of sorrows and the least of these. And so if we are following after him, that's exactly what Jesus calls us to.
It also makes me think of he must increase, I must decrease.
Yes, absolutely.
I love the mindset of it's not just getting rid of stuff, but we're making room for something better.
Yes.
And the something better is, I mean, who doesn't need more time? That's the most valuable commodity there is, at least in my opinion. Well, I've got kids. I've got one that's getting ready to be a senior in high school. So the countdown for her, like exiting our house is on. And now every little spring break, every little summer vacation, I'm just like, how can we have our final, maximize that time?
Right.
Speaking of kids, you know of a study when it comes to kids and toys. Like if you've got real little kids and your living room looks like Fisher-Price exploded, and I know because I've been there. Will you tell me about that study?
Yes. It was a study performed by the University of Toledo by two, I can't remember if they're behavioral doctors. And it was back in 2017. And they observed children in environments. And there was a direct correlation. The less toys that the children had, the more time they spent playing with fewer options. And I can attest to that as a mom of 3. My youngest is 3 and my middle is 5. But I've always, I'm very triggered by that physical, visual clutter. And of course, I let my kids have the plastic Fisher-Price toys. But for the most part, I try to really be mindful of what I allow in my home. And the wood blocks, the animals, Legos, the things that they can build with and are open-ended, they play with those daily. The art, the crafts. It's never those one-trick ponies of toys. And I can list off the top of my head those 5 things that we incorporate into our daily routine. And I think we just are surrounded with Amazon Prime, with all these instant gratification things that lead us to believe, our kids need the newest, best thing. But really, like what you said, Sarah, going back to what is the most valuable thing we can give our children, and that is us. It's the gift of us. A healthy marriage, it's our time with them. And I work from home, and so I have lots of distractions. I'm trying to run businesses, and I'm also in the throes of motherhood. And so they see me on my phone working, but I want to set aside those. I'm striving and asking the Spirit to help just maximize that time of when I am with them, to be with them, to be fully present. And that is something that I struggle with. But I will say that less is definitely more, that kids are like us. They thrive off of less options. Think of if you ask a 3-year-old, do you want X, Y, Z, and give them 2 more options? They're going to be overwhelmed. They don't even know the question you're asking. So they're not much different than us as adults when it comes to options.
I think this is also, I saw some documentary on Costco. It's why there's only 2 choices: Kirkland signature toilet paper or Charmin Ultra toilet paper, because decision fatigue. Yes. So it's just do you want this or this?
Exactly.
1, 2.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time when we have too many options. I always think of the Cheesecake Factory menu. Oh, nothing against the Cheesecake Factory.
That's a book.
But it's 20 pages and they have at least 25 options for just cheesecake alone.
Such a good example.
Right?
Yeah.
It's I'm going to spend so much time ruminating over this decision instead of being in instead of making a decision and being in action.
Yeah, these are such great examples. I'm sure listening, you can think of one your own too. I know when when one of my kids has to buy a birthday gift for a friend in school, my husband has taken them to the wall of toys at Fred Meyer, and he text messages me and he's like, I'm going to be here for half an hour. Because we've got one kid just staring.
It's too overwhelming. Yeah, it's way too much. We think we're doing our kids this loving act of having unlimited options. But no, you have to remember, think of yourself. If you're staring at your closet and you're I have over 200 items, it's the exact same principle.
Yeah.
So less is more.
Well, I'm glad you brought us back to the closet. I just want to keep getting, like, I love that we're talking mindset, but I also just feel someone listening be like, get to the action steps.
Yes.
How is it that we can actually look more fashionable by having less clothes?
That's a great question. I think that when we know we can put words and style descriptors to the image that we're wanting to achieve, paired with the right capsule items to create that versatility in our closets. And once we're at baseline, I think it's so much more easy to invest in those quality items versus fast fashion. And so if we really know, like, okay, this is like the image I want to portray, and how do I get there? I'll give you, for example, there's not a one size fits all for a capsule closet. And what I mean by capsule, it doesn't mean this magic number of items. I am more so speaking to the fact that it is versatile. It's going to provide you so many options, whether it be, I need to get dressed up for my kids' auction, or I have a work lunch and I need to run afterwards to school pickup and the baseball field. There is going to be so many different options thanks to those foundational pieces that are neutral, timeless, and quality items. So when we invest in these quality pieces, they're going to last longer. It's not favoring just fast fashion trends that are going to be in one season and then out the next. I really want to apply sustainability and intentionality and minimalism to good quality items. What that doesn't mean is just going out, minimizing everything you have, because, that actually is not sustainable. That is contributing to all the waste that the fashion industry has. So let's get to, as I keep saying, baseline, but let's get to that 20% and then fill in from there and know, okay, how can I, these like high-waisted pair of jeans in my closet that I already own, how can I wear this at least 3 ways? What capsule opportunity will get me that versatility to take me from a work meeting to, the soccer field or whatever it may be?
And don't you take pictures and give them to your clients so they can actually see a visual, like, wear this with this?
Yes, exactly. One of the exercises I do in my signature session is I will completely curate a week's worth of outfits based on your needs. Like, we will talk about, okay, what events might you have for this week or this month? And then based on what you have and with those capsule links on how to complete an outfit, I will style a week's worth of outfits for you. And one of the exercises I love doing to promote that versatility and to demonstrate is 1 item 3 ways. So you're learning, okay, like, how do I get creative and how do I play in my closet without just consuming more?
A lot of your clients are moms who have gone through the pregnancy, postpartum. My body shape is different. My time is different. My priorities are different. And, being a fashionista has maybe gone lower on the list of priorities. And yet when you go in and help elevate, do you see a little spark of them come back? Did they see it come back?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's such a common thing as moms that we deal with. And I try to remind my clients, since I do work with a lot of moms, that this is not vain. It can feel that, okay, I'm spending this money to figure out how to get dressed and to focus on my closet. But it's the same principle of we can't pour from an empty cup. So I always tell my clients, how you start your day is how you start your life. If you're starting it in a closet that is cluttered, there's things that don't even belong in your closet that need to be rehomed, that's how you're starting your morning. You're going to feel overwhelmed, joyless, because you, again, have nothing to wear and are repeating those same items that you wear on a weekly basis. And that's honestly where you're coming from and who you're going to be serving and how you're showing up for those that you're serving. So that's one thing that really brings me joy, is seeing the shift in, okay, wow, I might not be, I'm never actually going back to the person or the body or the size. Even if you are at the same size that you were pre-pregnancy, we're not going back to those old selves. And let's celebrate everything that our body has accomplished. And life is such a miracle. The fact that God has allowed us as women uniquely to carry human life. And while it can be hard figuring out what pieces or how do I get dressed again, and I might not be, maybe I'm like 5 to 10 pounds, I love helping you invest in the things that are worth investing in, because it's not always honestly worth investing in, let's say, pants postpartum. I'm like, don't expect yourself to buy these designer jeans, 6 months postpartum, and I would say that's a poor investment. So to help you navigate that as a postpartum mom, I've done it myself, and I know it can be really defeating, but seeing the joy of like, wow, like I still have it. And there's such a huge difference when we know our style, when we know these capsule principles of how to get creative and dress for the bodies that we have that fit our lifestyle. There is so much excitement and joy in how we show up for others too.
You mentioned when we know our style. Mm-hmm. How do we know our style?
So that's a really great question. One of the things I help my clients with is I have a questionnaire that I have curated, and in my process, I send that to you to just kind of get a feel for what your everyday looks like, what bloggers or celebrities or anything that you kind of admire, and the aesthetic. And then I create a mood board for you and help with words to help put language to what that might look like. Like maybe it's like feminine, but with a bit of a boho edge, or maybe you're a bit edgy and you like love a good motorcycle jacket, but you're like way more laid back. So this might sound nebulous to some of you, but I am able to help pinpoint those style descriptors based on my questionnaire, mood board, and then collaborating on, okay, what does that mean for you?
How often do you find a discrepancy between what someone wears every day and what their ideal is?
That's a really great question. Yeah, I think that it can be hard sometimes to look at, whether it's an influencer or celebrity and say, like, I want to dress like them, but this is how I'm showing up. I like to take aspects. It might not be that exact outfit formula, but maybe it's an aspect of that. Maybe it's maybe it's the tiny floral pattern that you like, and it's that like little feminine touch. Or maybe it's a silhouette. Like maybe it's something that's really tailored and you're wearing a bunch of slouchy athleisure coming out of COVID. Thankfully, we're now getting dressed again, but maybe you're wanting to move towards like a more tailor polished look. So I think understanding like, okay, it might not be this exact outfit formula that you're desiring, but like what do you appreciate about some of those patterns, and why do you like that, and how do we apply that to your life?
Am I making this up, or did I hear you say this either in this podcast or something else? The way we show up for ourselves is the way we show up for others.
Yes, I did say that.
In this podcast?
I did.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Look, I'm listening without listening. I want to go back to that a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Let's really dive into that. Like, even if I'm working remotely, mm-hmm. and the only people that are going to see me is my husband and kids, how can getting fully dressed versus wearing my sweatpants show up for them in a way that matters?
Yeah, that's a great question. I like to use the analogy of making your bed. So if you start your day with a made bed, there's actually studies done on this. You're more productive. You're more joyful. I can't quote the study to you, but I can attest to that myself. When I try to be a bed maker 3 days out of the week. if I'm being honest. I would love to be an everyday bed maker, but in this season, that has not been the priority. I will tell you, on the days that I wake up, even 10 to 20 minutes earlier, take the time to make my bed and get dressed, I feel so much energy in my day. I don't care if you work remotely, if you just see your cat all day, but it does matter. The clothes that we put on our bodies is a reflection of the image that we're trying to project. And honestly, what we think of ourselves and our self-confidence. I'll give you an example, and my husband might kill me for sharing this. He is a minimalist. He has a outfit formula that he sticks to and does not venture. So when I asked, hey babe, can I help you get dressed? Absolutely not. That was a hard no. Thank you. No, thank you. He took the time, and he is the type of shopper that will shop once every 2 years and really invest in those quality items that will wear holes in them. But he knows what he likes. He finally took the time to use an afternoon to go to a local boutique in Edmonds and invest in some new clothes. And when he came back from that, I kid you not, the look on his face and pep in his step, and then when he put them on, it's like his whole demeanor changed. And it wasn't vain. I can see the energy behind it because he was choosing to invest in himself, in his business, and the way he shows up. And so it's just like this like holistic process of, how we get dressed. It really does matter.
And I love that we have you as a coach for that, because oftentimes it takes somebody else to be able to see what we're working with and to see what our best features are, right?
Yes.
Like, I don't know what it is about our own brain that gets in the way. We look in the mirror and all we see are the flaws first. And then you step in and you're like, actually, let's try this and this. And tell me a story of a client that you actually watched, like, their emotions lift and their confidence grow because you came in and showed them that they have more that they're working with than they thought.
Yes. We'll call her Amber. She's a local interior designer and blogger. And she just completed her beautiful walk-in closet renovation, had plenty of items. When we started the process of removing every item, I always take what's called a bed shot, because there is piles on the bed, on the floor, essentially everywhere, because most of my clients probably have around 200 items. She was floored. She did not realize how many items that she owned, yet she still struggled with a nothing to wear mentality. That process brought so much clarity. It's hard too, because her job partly is affiliate. And so I think she walked away from that with more intentionality and bringing the right questions to her shopping strategy and saying, I saw her a couple months after and she's like, I just don't buy stuff. Like, I really don't. Like, I have what I need. I'll rent what I don't for occasions. And I thought that was really cool that it's like, okay, in this coaching session, I helped her to be more thoughtful, to get creative in her closet, wear what you have, and you don't need to just buy all of this stuff. Like, let's maybe not just buy the H&M and Zara quick grab for that trip to Cabo or whatever it might be. She said something that really, I was humbled. She said, this service will change your life in a day. And she's like, it's just that it will give you that transformative experience and will help change your shopping strategy, change the way you view yourself, just so many aspects of our life, because at the end of the day, we all have to get dressed. One thing I also showed her was I gave her the analogy of an art gallery. When you walk into an art gallery or museum, think about how much white space surrounds the picture. We can't enjoy all these like fine pieces of art if it's cluttered. And so that principle applies to your closet. I believe there should be hanging space between hangers. There should be white space. We can't appreciate every item and take care of it and, wear it gently and put it back on the hanger and have this ritual of an experience if our closets are stuffed to the brim.
I'm thinking, I'm listening to you, I'm visualizing it, I'm thinking I'm getting closer, and then in my own closet, and once you get there, it'll be great. And then I laugh because I'm thinking of my children's closets.
Oh, yes, that's another story.
Like I'm thinking of my teenage daughter.
Yes, I can imagine. That's a different, and I'm not there yet.
This is why we start one room at a time.
Yes.
One room at a time. So as you help people and they have that white space and they have that freedom in the morning, do you see that they start to venture outside of their own closet into other parts of their house?
Yes. I always say I like to start with your closet because, like I said before, everyone gets dressed for the day. And so when you experience that total transformation, it's a domino effect. It really causes you to want and motivate you to tackle another space because that feeling, honestly, is so joy-filled. It's kind of addictive, a little bit addictive that, okay, when I actually subtract things, I'm adding so much more to my life.
And so let's talk about gifting. If someone gives you, for as much as we're getting out, this happens to me on a daily basis. I'm trying to get rid of things and my kids bring in 800 more papers from school.
Oh my word. And unending.
And tchotchkes. My littlest is a tchotchke girl.
Yes.
Like everything tiny. And she has squirrel piles throughout the house. And her favorite place to squirrel pile is on my nightstand and my little bookshelf right in my room. What then? Because I just allow it because, it's her. It makes her so happy. But her bed looks like she sleeps in a nest. We joke.
Oh, my word.
The nest of squishmallows.
Yes, I'm familiar with that nest. It's so hard with kids. And to be honest, I am navigating the balance between just being a ruthless editor. This is my home. And then being more respectful that, you know what? I share this home with others and they might not be as minimal as myself. I really try to filter. I always say it's harder to deal with clutter after it's entered your doors. And so being proactive about it, I'll address gifting as well, but being proactive about, okay, let's stop this at the door before it enters. So I'll take a birthday party example though. For instance, those little plastic, disposable, made in China tchotchke things that your kid comes home from a birthday party. I will let them play with it for like 3 days. And then the minute I find it just strewn somewhere, I just toss it. It goes in the garbage or the Goodwill because they don't continue playing with those things. So I think that's kind of like the best of both worlds. Like we don't have to hold on to this item. We got the value out of the item by playing with it and by enjoying it from our friends. That
little sticky hand that comes in a capsule as soon as it's fuzzy. When I see fuzz on the sticky hand, it goes in the garbage.
Absolutely.
It is expired.
Yes. My kids know that. I think they just understand that at this point. But I think also just demonstrating like more is caught than taught. I started this with my oldest, who's now 8, and he has like a good sized box under his bed that is for every rock and piece of artwork and those special items that are his. He honestly goes in and declutters regularly because he knows if I keep everything, well, then am I actually enjoying everything? Right? If everything is special, then nothing is special. And so I can see my kids, even my daughter who's 5, the wheels are starting to turn and it's starting to connect that like, I just made this, she's a crafter, an artist. I just made this like coloring at nap time, but this one's really special because I made this for mama's anniversary or whatever. The difference between that is like, okay, I can continue to create. I don't need to keep every single thing. This one is actually the special one. So I don't know. I'm still learning. I'm very much still learning.
What about for the someone that is sentimental or worse yet, not worse yet, or feels like they're supposed to be sentimental, but they're not? Yeah.
I would say, yeah, I can relate because I think that there's so much emotion attached to whatever item it may be. And the reality is, okay, the memory doesn't live in that belonging. That when we are able to detach the emotion from it, it's easier to let go. And we don't have to keep everything. And I don't think that I'm like this, I should be a sentimentalist, but I'm not. I think I can enjoy the item in the moment too, or capture that, piece of artwork or whatever it may be in a photo. I'll give you the example. So my mom passed away from breast cancer at the age of 44, and she loved antiquing. She had this like not enormous, but probably 4 large size storage boxes of fine china, teacups, and teapots. When I went through that with my dad, I was like, I know I should keep these things, everything. I literally took them from high school to college, post-college to married. And I took those boxes with me everywhere. They just moved. Did I ever open them or truly enjoy like, oh, this was Mom's teacup. And this is what she used to do for us after school and make a tea party for us out of these 4, the set. It wasn't until probably right after I had Oliver that we downsized. We moved to we had this little home in Richmond Beach that was 1,200 square feet, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, very limited storage. And I was kind of forced to go through her collection. And I took away from that, I think probably 8 teacups and saucers, a set of 8 little tea plates that my kids, by the way, eat breakfast on, even though they're fine china, 2 teapots, and that's about it. And we use those. There's some that have been broken. I can think of Lottie's favorite teacup. All my kids drink their steamers out of them. We talk about my mom. We honor her through using it. But do you see how you don't have to keep the whole collection? I wasn't even utilizing or enjoying those items and remembering her. I was just moving this because I felt obligated to. But when we're able to hone in on those, a small amount of it, and use them and incorporate them in our daily life, that's going to give us so much more joy and purpose than keeping the entirety of it.
I feel like you just encapsulated the benefit of everything with that one story.
Oh, that's so sweet, Sarah. I like to share it because I think so many people can relate.
I think everyone can relate. Everyone can, and especially with something as tender as a memory from your mom.
Yeah.
I love that your kids are using those every day.
It is special. I'm like, nothing is too special. Every day is an occasion.
The Joyful Minimalist is how you find Kristin. She's on Instagram. She's got her website. How else can people get a hold of you?
I share a lot on Instagram. I love just fostering community and just chatting with other people about minimalism, about capsule closets, and I would say DMs, website, email. But I'm more than willing to just be a friend, and I love hearing your story.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me, Sarah. This was so much fun.